Chayei Marcheshvan. This is Shabbos Parshas Chayei Sorah, Shir Quality with Rav Gafni.
All right, so we're turning in this week's Parsha to chapter Kof Dalet. Grace is chapter Kof Dalet. And we're referring particularly to Posik Yud Beis and Yud Gimel at the beginning. And the Parsha deals with the shlichus of Eliezer, Eved Avraham, to go to Aram Naharaim to bring a wife for Yitzchak. And it talks about how Eliezer was matzliach in the shlichus that he went to carry out that task after Avraham Avinu had given him a shavua. He gave him an oath, a very serious oath, that he mustn't take from the Bnei Knani, from the Canaanites or whatever you call them, but he must take only from Mishpachtoi, whatever was the Mishpacha of Lavan and Bethuel over there in Aram Naharaim. So we see that after having given the oath to Avraham Avinu, then he goes out on the journey, Eliezer, and he comes over to, later Rashi tells us that he had Kfitzas Hadera, he had a jumping of the way, didn't he? Yes, he did. He had a jumping of the way, Kfitzas Hadera. And everything was in a haven of miracles and unusual inyanim chutz midachia teva. So he comes to the city and he puts the camels to rest, and he goes to the Be'er Hamayim, to the well of water, which was in those days common in the villages where they used to draw water. Vayema Hashem Elokei, and he said, Posik Yud Beis, the Rebishter, who is the God of my master Avraham. Hakreino Lefanai Hayim, bring that should happen in front of me this day, and do chesed with your servant, with my master Avraham. He said, I'm going to stand Noichi Nitav al Ein Hamayim Uveneis Anshe Hoyer Yaites Lishav Moy, and the daughters of the people of the city are going to come out to draw water from the well. V'hoyo hanaro asher ima ileiha, and behold the young girl that I will say to her, Hatino chadei ve'eshter, give me to drink from your jug. The Omer shesei, and she will say, yes, for sure you can drink. V'gam gemalecha ashkei, also I will give you camels to drink. Oisa v'chaktu le'avdecho le'yitzchak. Well, that'll show me that this is the wife that you've set aside, or you've been mavarer for Yitzchak. Rashi says that he set aside and chose out carefully. Uva Eidah, and I will know in her or through her. She says that to me and does it. Lepoyo ki asisa chesedim adonim im Avraham Avinu. And then the pasuk says, "Vayhihu terem kilo ladaber." he hadn't even finished speaking. In other words, he was saying this, but he didn't finish. He was in the middle of saying it. V'hinei Rivka says, and she was born to Besuel, what he's the family member of Avram's mishpacha. And then it's written that she did what he said. She offered him water. You have to leave. I'll give you one more chance. You have to stop grinning or you go out. All right? Have you got it clear? And she fulfills what he foresaw, and she says to him that you should drink, and she also offers the camels to drink. So comes along Rashi, and Rashi says that Eliezer Be'ika, this was like a prayer which he offered up to the Eibishter. And therefore in Pasuk Yudalet he says, Oisa Heichachto, this is the one that you've set aside literally. And then he says, Ra'uye Hiloi, she is fit for Yitzchak Avinu, Shetahei Goimeres Chasodeh, that she should be a person that she's Goimel Chesed. How do you call it? She does kindness to other people. She cares about other people and does kindness. Ukidai likonis bebeisish of Avraham, and that's a sign that she'll be worthy of going into the house of Avraham Avinu, because Avraham Avinu is a mensch of Chesed and Gemilus Chesed v'Ava, to all the people. And so Rashi says, "V'loshen heichacha is loshen breira or birato." Heichachto means that you've made it clear and you've set aside that she's going to be the one. And then Rashi says, "Uvo eida." So Rashi says, "Loshen tchino." Well, this is a bakosha, like a prayer of asking the Eibishter that he should do that for him. The tchino wasn't, like to pray and to beg. Hoida libo, inform me through her that this is the right one. So Rashi learns that all of this lashon that Eliezer said was like a tchina, how do you call it, like a prayer. So I thought to Shaila, why Rashi anxious to go out of his way to say that it was a prayer? Because he'd already prayed to the Eibishter before, and he said, Hashem Elokei Adonai Avraham, Hakrein Olafonai, and do chesed with my master. So that's a prayer that he wanted the Eibishter should look after him and do him chesed in the shlichus mit Avram, and the rest of it is kilo like a sign that Eliezer puts in, almost as you might call it for good measure. He makes a whole sign that she's going to have to do kach v'kach, and then he will know. Then he'll know that that's the one that's been set aside. So it comes along, there's a very famous Shiloh which occurs here, but again to that whole thing. And we'll just deal with it briefly in order to get onto a more broader theme. And that is that in the Torah, there's a Isa in the Torah, and according to one opinion in the Gemara Masechta Sanhedrin, it's also for the Bnei Noach. Now Eliezer was a Ben Noach. He wasn't a Yid in the full sense, Eliezer. So even if we'll say that he wasn't a Yid, he was a Ben Noach, nonetheless is still forbidden. You're not allowed to, guess or make signs that if kach v'kach will happen, then you will do kach v'kach. In other words, that you make like a sign or a siman in things that happen in the world, and ali dezeh, you decide what to do. And that's called nichush. It's called literally like guessing or making signs. And it's written in the Torah, in Pasha Vayikra, Loi Sena Cheshu, you must not do that type of thing. And Rashi brings over there, Dugmais, if a mensch is walking on the way and all of a sudden a deer, how do you call it, a deer runs across his path, So he said, oh, since that happened, then I'll do kachva, or I won't do kach. Or, yeah, he was eating his breakfast, and the bread fell out of his hand before he could get it into his mouth. Yeah, says Rashi, Pito, Nochlo, Miyodei, Ein Zeh Siman Tov, it's not a good sign. Eloi, Eseh, kachva, kach that I planned to do, I won't do it. Yeah, v'oid, dugmos v'inyonim ka'eila. So therefore, l'chayra, Eliezer, yeah, is involving himself in Azam Mitzot Zah. I mean, his whole shlichus from Avraham Avinu is to come and find a wife for Yitzchak. So if the whole Indian had to be even that he wants it to happen in a miraculous and clear way, that he won't have to waste his time, and he won't have, as they call it, ishkopaiting. And he should have just, like he did, he should have just prayed to the Eivishter, and he just said, listen here, Eivishter, show me the right one, without any problems, right from the beginning. I should meet up with the right person. I mean, for that purpose, he could meet a father or a brother or Nochazal mentioned. In fact, he can find out where she lives and who she is, and he can make inquiries as to whether she's a suitable, how do you call it, shidduch for Yitzchak Avinu. It wasn't the whole thing that he makes this sign that if she will give me, but she also say to my camels that they should eat, drink, not eat, sorry, drink. Well, then that's a sign that she is the right one. So comes along the Saporno, the Rabbeinu Avadia Saporno, and he says that that's why we have to make a clear kasha with the blessing. He prayed to the Eibishter that prayer didn't finish. The whole parsha is like one prayer from until we get to the pasuk Vayihu Terem. Before he finished praying, then it already happened. He's still praying the whole time. And therefore Rashi says, Rashi says, but that's all part of the bakosha and all part of the prayer that he had to the Eibishter. So he said he wasn't making any signs. He was praying to the Eibishter that he should get a worthy person for Yitzchak Avinu. And what was the sign that she would be worthy? Something like Rashi says, she's got to be a kind and caring person, both for people and for Bnei and for Bali Chayim, for the Gemalim, for animals, for Chayei Sorah. And the Saporno avoids the whole union, and he says that really it wasn't a sign or a throwing of a symbol. It was just a part of his bakosha that he wanted that she should have all the midas that would be suitable to be a son or a daughter rather in the family of Avraham Avinu. And that was part of the tefillah. And therefore Rashi is medactic to say loshen tachil. And with that Rashi is obviously trying to avoid this problem. Now we find that the inyan of this whole prayer and this whole sign that Eliezer made brings a lot of critical discussion in our sages. The Gemara Masechta Tainas, but the Gemara says that he asked Shaloi Kahoige. He didn't ask in a proper way, and there were two other people in Israel who didn't ask in a proper way. Well, we can't go into all the details, and yet nonetheless, the Eibishter, how do you call it, overlooked the fact that he asked in an improper way and gave him a good result nonetheless. So what was impossible in prophecies of the Gemara? He says that the whole sign will be that if there'll come out a young lady and she will go down and bring water after I ask her that she'll give him to drink. So if that's the whole reason, it says the Gemara could have been a person with 1 foot or a person with missing limbs, or it could have been who knows what, and yet nonetheless she might have said that. How did he have the right to, as it were, put a reliance on the fact that she would be a perfectly good person? If that was the whole simon, who knows what she might look like. In the fact, says the Gemara, but the Gemara doesn't mention openly that he asked with this nichush business. You had of a Rashi writes over there. It's fascinating. The Gemara Masechta Tainis, where this occurs, or Rashi writes over there in the Gemara that Hoya Menachish. Even though in the Gemara it's not written that, but Rashi says over there in the Gemara that he was Menachish. So we have to say that Lafi Rashi's Pirush in the Gemara, he did both things. He asked in a rather impetuous way that could have brought who knows what sort of result. And zweitens says he also had this Indian of Nichush. And he was involved in making signs. So, to strengthen that problem that he was involved in the Indian for Nichush, there's a Gemara, Masechta Chulin, where the Gemara tells a story about Rav. But everybody's heard of Rav. He was the great early Amir. He was in the latter time of Rabbeinu HaKodesh. He followed very soon after Rabbeinu HaKodesh. And the Gemara tells a story about Rav, that he was once walking in his way. He was going to visit his son-in-law and daughter. That they lived in a distant town. And he walked along, all of a sudden he sees that there's a river, and the river splits a sort of a small rivulet out of the river. It was apparently the winter time, or the time when the water was there, and the water came running towards him, and he said, oh, that's a good sign. That's a sign that we're going to have a Yontif Dikazach, something good is going to, something good is going to happen, because it's a well-known thing that if the river splits over, it gives you a whole other rivulet, and it comes in your direction, then it's a sign that something good is going to happen. So he gets over to the city where he wants to go, the town where he wants to go, and the gate is locked. He can't get into the city, but he peeps through the gate. He takes a look through the cracks in the gate, and he sees that on the other side of the wall is a big slaughtered animal, and he saw that it had been slaughtered. You can see it's been slaughtered al pi halacha. It was hanging there, and he thought to himself, well, that's a very good piece of meat, for people to eat. So he bangs on the gate. Eventually he gets himself through the gate, and all the people in the city come, and he says, what's with this place? What are you guys doing about the place that's hanging here on the gateway? So all of a sudden there comes along the butcher. The butcher says, oh yes, I forgot, Duke, this animal is hanging here. And he said, we can feed it to everybody. So the Gemara says that Rav was very anxious to keep his eye on it the whole time. Because you can never know if the flesh disappears from your eye. You can never know what this guy might get up to. He might swap it with other flesh. Once he starts cutting it, you can never know. So some people learn that the butcher was a goy. He wasn't a yid, and the one who slaughtered the animal was a yid. However, whatever. So all of a sudden, the Gemara says that even though he never took his eye off it, he was baiting everything, nonetheless he didn't eat from the flesh. He wouldn't eat from it. The Gemara tries to say, why didn't he eat from it? Because he'd made a nichush, he'd made a symbol before, and he said, oh, a sign that something good is going to happen. And he had charata. He changed his mind from that, and he said, well, now that the good thing is happening, I don't have anything to do with it, because if I do, then it'll be like I realize my nichush, and I don't want to have anything to do with that. I say, he's not the Gemara. And then the Gemara says, but Rav himself, as he tells us the Gemara tells that Rav himself said that every nichush, which is made for you to be chayiv, the lav in the Torah, the negative commandment of not making symbols, it has to be like the nichush of Eliezer Eved Avraham. And if it's not, then it's not making a sign or making a symbol. So from that it would follow that it's got to be like Eliezer Eved Avraham. If it's not like Eliezer Eved Avraham, then it's not nichush. That is up to Gemara. So everybody says, what on earth is that? So some people learn that what the Gemara means to say is that really Eliezer Eved Avraham, he did make a whole thing which is it's the classical form of a nichush. It's much a classical form of a nichus. But the difference is that he relied on the Eivishter, he didn't rely on the nichus. And that's what the Gemara says, that it can't be a nichus unless it was like Eliezer, Eved, Abraham, means just the way he did it. In other words, if you didn't mean the Eivishter, but you relied on the nichus, then it would be an emes nichus. Meaning that Eliezer Avraham was close to the borderline, but he didn't actually do a nichus. But if you didn't trust in the Eivishter the way he did, then it would be a nichus. That's how some people learn. Other people want to learn, no, that it was in effect, it looks in effect to be a nichus. And it wasn't the fact that he prayed to the Eivishter that saved him. Now what saved him was, later on, he says to Rivka, whose daughter are you? Yeah? And then he gave her these jewelries that he'd bought with him. So let's see if you guys know your Chumash. What does Rashi say about that?
He gave her 2 pieces of jewelry that were negative the lufos. 2 of the pieces of jewelry were corresponding to the lufos.
That's undermice.
He gave the jewelry first and then asked.
Very nice. He gave the jewelry first, and then afterwards he gave it he asked her who she was. And that would look as if he was relying entirely on the nichus. And if Rashi has to say no, he wasn't. He was praying. Rashi tries to avoid the whole issue by saying it was a prayer. It wasn't a game. It wasn't a nichus. However, Tosfos in the Gemara, Masechet Chulin, Tosfos says that he disagreed with Rashi, and he says no, that he asked her first who she was. First he asked her who she was, then he gave her the jewelry. That says Tosfos from which, because if he asked her who she is, then he wasn't really relying on the whole sign. Why did he make the whole sign? So we have to say that according to Tosfos, he made the whole sign, just for the sake of Musa, just to show that she's got to be a selfless person, a great melish chasodim. But not that he based himself entirely on that. And Rashi says big packet. Rashi says that he gave her. So Rashi learns that he was just. So Rashi says that he was batuach in Hashem so much that he didn't even worry. So Tosfos says if that was the case, then it's like nichus. And Tosfos doesn't say no, he was praying. So we see there's a whole series of opinions here. How does Eliezer get himself out of this whole business with nichus? He comes again the Maharal Prague, and the Maharal Prague says in his Pirush al Rashi al Torah, he says that the difference here was that Eliezer, and also there's another case where the Gemara brings when they get to Yonasan ben Shaul. If I tell you what I did, you get yourself mixed up between one case and the other. So we won't bother about Yonasan ben Shaul at the moment, but anyway, he also made a mitzvah. So the Rambam Prague says that he and Eliezer were busy with a shlichus mitzvah. That they were busy with doing a mitzvah. And they were busy doing Ratzon Hashem. They used the whole meaning of certain signs to know what way should they be mekayim the mitzvah be emes. In other words, that what sort of person is emes is going to be really shy to Beis Yishol Avram Avinu, and to be a husband for Yitzchak Avinu, if she's got in herself that mitzvah in Gemilus Shodim. But this is a feeling for how am I going to carry out the mitzvah of finding a wife for Yitzchak Avinu? And if come to us that since it was only just a birur in Ketzad L'Kayim es Ratzon Hashem, Ketzad L'Kayim es HaMitzvah, therefore it's not nichus. Let's say he left the Maharal Prague in his Pirush al Torah, and he asked kashas on Tosfos, on everybody right and left, and he says that the only way we can really be mafarish the whole thing is the way he suggests. Now, the truth is that in another place, he says another Pirush to Maharal Prague, he says this in 2 places, because he says it in a Gemara Masechet Shabbos, is a famous Pirush from the Maharal Prague over there on that Gemara, and he says a similar thing. So it seems that was his maskana, that was his final opinion, that it's not really nichush because it was being oisik, and the whole bureau was a bureau how to be mekayim the mitzvah. Masha'enking, if you just make a statement like that, and you rely entirely on the statement, and that controls your ma'asim, and that decides what you're going to do and how you do it, then ain't no chanami, there's a nichush. And how do we know that? We know from Eliezer Eved Abraham, because had it not been for the fact that he was Eisem for mitzvah, then that would have been Emerson Nichus. And so the Mashor learns in the Gemara in Chulin, because really he doubled it up, even though we don't see in the pasuk that he doubled it up. Of the Mashor learns that he said, if this won't be the case in her, then I won't take, but if I do, if it is the case in her, then I will take her. That he doubled it up. That's like a condition almost. It's what we call a Tanai Kofu, a whole big business in the Marcheshvan, and that's what turned it into being symbolism or guessing or how do you call it, hocus pocus. Edify, a very fascinating discussion when they get to Eliezer, what was he doing, making a sign of this sort. However, we see that the Iker was that he was doing betmimus his shlichus to carry out Avraham Avinu's shavua and to bring back a wife for Yitzchak. So ask yourself the shaila, why did it have to be malubish in such a lavush? I mean, like we said, he could have just come into the town, just going up to the local information office, or whatever there is there, tourist information, a Facebook was, and say, where does this guy Basul live? Or, where does the family of Avraham live? And make inquiries and find out and decide what he had to do. Why did it have to go in Azamin Oifen? The kilo it was tolu in a sima, even though, according to everybody, it doesn't really come out being a God forbid, a Isa. Yeah, but it is a siman. But what's this whole in of a siman? And it's tolu idavki de inife gemilus asodim and davki ainin from what you might call selflessness. And on that basis, we come to the decision that that's ra'ui to be a wife of Yitzchak Avinu, and into the bargain, it's put down in the great Svarim that she was carrying a chad al shikma, and the word chad means a jar or a pitcher, but it's also a remez to 24 books of the Nach, of the Nevi'im Tanakh, the Nevi'im Ketzuvim. All of them together represent the 24 books, or what you might call the books of the Bible, whatever you like to call it. The 24 Kisvei Kodesh. And so there's a whole remez in the fact that Rivka was how do you call it, a shaykhs, that she had a shaykhs be'etzim to Torah, and she went down into the well, with the well is the Indian from Be'er Mayim Chaim with her, and it's put down in the Medrash Rabbah, that when she went down into the well, that it was nizdamin there, the Be'er Shel Midian, that what was later going to be the water that he didn't drank all the 40 years in the desert, which was the Be'er Shel Midian, that literally came miraculously into that place. What she actually drew from was the Be'er Shel Midian. So I saw the shach, what's that? Why does the Medrash have to go to say such a wondrous Indian, which is Mamisha Ador Chutz B'Dach HaTorah? All of a sudden it just appeared. Be'er, which is going to be only appear later in the history of Yidden and mankind, all of a sudden, when she dips the jug into the water, she's got Be'er Shel Midian. What does he do? Elamai is a simon that there's something hidden deeply in this whole sign and this whole boring on the Inif and Nicholas that Eliezer undertook on himself. What is it the pure of it? We have to, in order to understand that, we have to take a look at that further pasuk that we saw, and that is that it's written that Hine hu terem vayhi hu terem kilo ledaber. He hadn't even finished speaking, and all of a sudden Rivka came out, and the whole thing happened. Had occurred. Miyad, bli shum hesitation, klar, on the spot. And he hadn't even finished davening, and the thing was already in front of him. So comes again the Medrash Rabbah, and it's put down from the Rabbeim in the Drushei Siddur. That's written there were 3 people who were answered with the answering of their own mouth. That they said their prayer, and immediately they were answered. Eliezer Eved Avraham, Moshe Rabbeinu, and Shlomo HaMelech. In other words, Eliezer Eved Avraham, like we see here, Moshe Rabbeinu in reference to Korach, when he said the earth should open itself up and swallow all the people. So it's written, Vayi Kichlei Moshe L'daber. Immediately the Moshe finished, then the earth opened and they were swallowed. And by Shlomo HaMelech in the Beis HaMikdash, when Shlomo HaMelech said his prayer of thanksgiving for the finishing in the Beis HaMikdash, that he prayed that it should be the Gila, the Shechita, Hashem should be present. And it's written by Vayi Kichlei Shlomo L'Yispalel El Hashem V'Nishmor Kol HaBayis Hashon. That immediately became full with a form of divine smoke, was indicative of the presence of the Shekhinah. So we see that immediately Shlomo finished davening, right on the spot, he was answered. However, it comes out there, one of the great Meforshei HaMedrash, even though certain people don't agree with this, but he comes along, and the Frierdiker Rebbe brings it down in a Maimon Siddur, which is a sign that the Rebbeim agreed with this dictum. And that is, if you look very careful, it's written by Eliezer that he hadn't finished davening. Vayihu terem kilo l'daber. By Shlomo and Moshe Rabbeinu and Shlomo, it's written when they finished davening. Albeit it was immediate, but first of all they finished. Then it happened. Over here, we were still in the middle of davening. He hadn't finished. Vayihu terem kilo l'daber. So we see then Rafiza, a tremendous miler in the davening and the tefillah of Eliezer, more than kilo. Yeah, Kiyach Moshe Rabbeinu mit Shlomo HaMelech. And the great Meforshei HaMedrash, what is that? I mean, it is a bit, how do you call it, obvious that there is a difference. And when on a Tainus Tzibur, on a public fast day, you say a prayer in Shemaya Tefillah. Well, at least I hope you do. But certainly if you forget the prayer, then you don't have to go back, but you're supposed to say it in Shemaya Tefillah. And what do we say over there to the Eivishter? Nobody remembers? So we say over there that the Eivishter says, Terem Yikra'u Vani Ene. Before they will even call to me, I'm gonna answer. This is the Eivishter. Terem Yikra'u Vani Ene. I mean, they haven't even said anything yet. You already answered them. And there's a certain level in davening which even before you actually get it out into prayer, they've already answered it. Now let's say that's the union of Eliezer Eved Avraham, and he's like the one that he broke what you might call the whole possibility of this wondrous concept of being answered before you even finish. And the reason that we say that on a tainus, because it's brought down that a tainus is a great ace ratzon. It's a tremendously augurous moment. When you didn't fast for the sake of Ratzon Hashem, well, that's an augurous moment. But we hope that we'll have augurous moments without having to fast. Here we see with Eliezer this wondrous thing that Vayihu terem kilo l'da. So comes along Chassidus and answers. Oh, by the way, the Beis Yosef has got on the Rambam, his Pirush on the Rambam, the Kesef Mishnah, and his Pirush in Hilchos Avodah Zorah, the Rambam brings down this halacha about nichush, but not making signs. Well, the Kesef Mishnah writes over there a very interesting thing. He said, what about you if you wake up in the morning and you planned going on a journey and you saw it was raining? they try to chesed and say, oh, it's raining, then I'm not going today. So what do you say about that? Would you consider that nichush?
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
Oh, you would?
Yeah.
You don't know? You're not sure?
Maybe.
Huh? So you wouldn't consider it nichush?
Maybe.
So the Beis Yosef said it's not nichush. Focus. He said because it's a dover hamistaber, a dover which is mamish al pisfora. That a mensch was planning a journalism. It's raining here. We hope Beis Hashem will get much more rain here in Eretz HaKodesh. Take it from Yad.
Amen.
And also it's teeming in rain. It's only al piseichel that a man should not want to go. But therefore the Beis Yosef makes a whole chilling. And he says that nichush is only when you say something which is doesn't have any kesher one to the other. And therefore he said that Rashi is careful to bring the dogma that he was walking along and all of a sudden a deer ran past him. It's like the old idea of the black cat, the Havdil. A man all of a sudden sees a goat run across his path. Well, that's going to stop him doing kafir. Ein was a cold shayzet on the kesher cloud. And the same Peter Noflim miyada that he's bred for that of his mouth. Also, therefore, he won't, do this in this business deal. Okay, all the words are dover, which is mistabal piseichel. So he wants to say that the whole tumult of Eliezer Eved Avram is not a shayla b'klal. And he says, he said, if you're going to take somebody into Avram Avinu's house, it's a natural thing that they have to have a shayla to Gemilas Chasadim, and if they don't, then that's al piseichel moving that they don't fit into the house of Avram Avinu. So therefore he said there's no shayla klal. Well, that's an important point made by the Beis Yosef, and it's brought down a mashmeh in what he says in the Shulchan Aruch. Later on he paskins in the Shulchan Aruch. This whole halacha is brought down the halacha in the Shulchan Aruch, in the Hilchos Chayei Sorah, in Yoreh Deah. Also upon it comes along certain authorities and they say, who was Eliezer Eved Avram? Who was he really representing here? I mean, what was BM's his shlichus? Was it the shlichus on the part of Avram Avinu, or was it the shlichus on the part of Yitzchak? So what do you say about that? So Emes, he gave his shvur to Avram Avinu. The bound by the shvur, he was bound to Avram Avinu. Although who was he being mishtatel? What was the whole inyan? The whole inyan was for Yitzchak Avinu. Huh? Yeah, he was a shliach of Avram. The Rebbe learned that he was a mamish Emes a shliach, a famous sichov in the Rebbe. But I mean, for whom was he doing it? In other words, who was the beneficiary of the whole thing? Who BMS was he representing? We're not now talking the halacha of the shlichus part of it. In the halacha of the shlichus, he was a shlich of Avram. But the pnimis ha'inin was all for the sake of Yitzchak Avinu. Now the Gemara brings in the Masechta Shabbos, or the Gemara brings that Liyosid Lover, when Mashiach will come, then we're going to say that the emes forefather of the Jewish people is Yitzchak Avinu. And we're even going to say Avram lo yodanu kol kach, v'Yaakov lo yikarenu, we don't recognize him so much, Yitzchak Avinu. Ki hua Avinu is going to be said on Yitzchak. So us is also Shaila, why Dr. Liyosid Lover is going to be the union of Yitzchak Davke? What's the union with it? And we had the last night in our Shir and Chassidus, and we started our Maimon in Etter, and we saw that in Pnimius there's a tremendous advantage and Maila in the Midas HaGevura. How it is Lamaila by the Ravista, and Yitzchak was a Merkava, he was a chariot to the Midas HaGevura. And the Pnimius of Gevura is Chayes and Bren. And the whole reason why there's a precision and a diktuk and a kilu not wanting to give in Gevura is only because of the dearness of the thing which is wanting to be given. And you can't just give a precious thing to somebody unless he's prepared to prepare himself have a Mesiras Nefesh to get himself ready and to be prepared, and to be prepared to even have Mesiras Nefesh to the point of catching himself and suffering a little bit of, how do you call it, Cholila V'chas. No one should ever have any Yisurim, Chas v'Shalom, but he should be prepared to rough it, to deal with himself in a way that he'll be a worthy Kli to be Mekabel, the highest prophet. And therefore the Indian from Tkiya Shofar is Davki connected with Yitzchak Avinu. And the whole Indian from Shofar is for us Shifra, beauty and wondrousness. That's the Indian from Shofar, but that's Nimshet Davki Alidei Gvura. Davki Alidei the Indian from Gvura. What sort of Gvura is? Well, the Alter Rebbe says in the Siddur that they are the Gvuras Mumuchachis, they're sweetened Gvuras. In other words, they don't come to bring the diktuk and the severity, they're already after that. That's already been done. And then, the tigboides, the tremendous inner power of the giving is the ultimate, tachlis of the whole meaning. And Yitzchak Avinu is on the contrary, the highest form of giving with a tremendous power, more than chesed. And chesed is what's called matun. Chesed goes with a certain graduality. It's nimsha, and it goes to everybody. It's not mamish without limits, but it goes in it. But it doesn't demand that you be terribly ready, only in a minimal way. But Gevura demands of you, and therefore by Tkiya Shofar, we have to have the infant Shuvah, we have the infant Bittul Kol HaMauz, and ich weiß mit what. In order to be zeicher to the Hamshocha Alidei, the infant Gvuras of Tkiya Shofar. And if Yitzchak Avinu represents I'm sorry, my boy, I don't have my hearing aid on to one. I can't hear what you're saying.
2 miles in Gvura is the Chayes and the brand, and the Swedish Gvuras.
Yeah. Yep. There's 2 miles and there's several miles actually in Gvura. I'm also pointing, Lafisa Kumtais, that the highest form of Hashpah, which is higher than the world, it's higher than what ordinary Kalim are to be Makabel, is Gevura Davki, not Chesed. Gevura Davki. And if the whole highest of Liosid, when Moshiach will come, is going to be from Yitzchak Avinu, Kiato Avinu, it's going to be Yitzchak. And if the brought down in Sifrei HaKabbalah, that Liosid Lo, the Alter Rebbe brings it in Tanya, in Perik Nun, that Liosid, the halacha is going to be according to Beis Shammai Davka, but they're the Indian of Gevura, because all the form of Hashpah will be in such a high and tremendous level, Liosid, that the whole world will function in the highest form of giving, of course, Pagolo, and that Davka from the Midas HaGevura, and there's a Davka from Yitzchak, and therefore Davka Liosid, Ato Avinu Af Yitzchak. And if Liosid, everything will be in a tremendous revelation, breaking aside all the Helevei Esther and Gilu Otzim of Elokus. And therefore, there'll be a purity in the world, and that's the Indian, when we said there has to be, and that's the Indian of the goal, is to prepare it. So the Rebbe said we've all been prepared. There's been enough of the whole Indian of the goal. We've already been prepared, and taken from Miyad is going to be Nimshut, this unbelievable Indian of Gilui Midas HaGevura b'pnimiusa b'kol ha'olam kulo, and everything will change, and not even that it'll be Davki halacha k'Beis Shammai with the ganze arichas ha'dvorim ha'mavura b'hava mekaymes in Chassidus. And so Chassidus says that when you come to such a level, when you come to such a height, that the whole Hashpah is from Yitzchak, and the whole Pnimius Ha'inyan is Gilui Elokus from Midas HaGevura, and everything happens very quickly. Everything goes with a swiftness, because Gevura doesn't hold from any how do you call it, opposition. A giver is somebody that he pushes over before him. But that's because of the tremendous desire to give. That nothing else can stand in the in the way. Mashiach Chesed, since Chesed goes with a certain graduality, then they can get in the way. Certain tainas that maybe this is not really to be, maybe they're not worthy of a ka'etz. But once you got into a Indian that the whole shefa is migvura, then everything gets swept away with mahirus, with tremendous swiftness. And we see that the Rebbe said that we want Mashiach now. The Rebbe wouldn't wait a minute. He couldn't. He was impatient to the most. It was just so obvious that the Rebbe was holding mamish by the end of Gilui Mashiach, and therefore he couldn't possibly bear that somebody would say that maybe Mashiach might be delayed even a short while. And he got very angry once with somebody who said that who knows exactly when Mashiach is coming. The Rebbe got very upset about it. He said he's coming right now. I found worse because the Rebbe saw that under his guidance and under the whole inyan of what Yidden had served all the years in the Golas, they were already holding by the inyan of Kiato Avinu Af Yitzchak, that the whole world is changing to a new form of Pnimius HaShefa, Pnimius of giving, from the Abish, from Chesed to Gvura Pnimius, what that's the inyan for swiftness and Mahiras. Therefore, says the Friedrich Rebbe, that's why the prayer of Eliezer, since B'Pnimis Hador, he was representing Yitzchak, even though he was a shliach of Avramovich, a shliach mamish to carry out certain acts. He was a shliach of Avramovich. Although B'Pnimis Hador, he was a representative of Yitzchak, and the whole prayer of Eliezer was by Yehu Terem Kilala Ledaba. He never even got finished, and the whole thing just began happening with this amazing swiftness. Even more than Moshe Rabbeinu and Shlomo HaMelech, and even more than Chayei Sorah. But you people are familiar with Chayei Sorah, that he's brought down in the Gemara Masechta Tainis that there was a terrible need for rain. What did he do? He made a circle, and he stood inside the circle, and he said he's not going out of the circle until the Abishai gives rain. And then eventually there occurred rain, and then he said that's not the type of rain I wanted. I wanted Gishmei Bracha. And the Rosh HaSanhedrin, Rabbi Shimon Bar Shatach, he said that if you weren't Chayei Sorah, then I would have put you in Nidur. I would have communicated you having done such a thing. He said, well, what can I do that you're like a son who plays with his father and gets his way? That's what he said. That's what he called Shimon Bar Shatach. That's what he said to Chayei Sorah. So it says the Friedrich Rebbe, nonetheless, we see that Chayei Sorah had to draw a circle, and he had to stand in the circle. Well, that is a certain effort, it's not much of an effort, but it's a certain pu'ula that had to be done. Eliezer Avram, he never did anything. He just said, let this be the case. Try. Before he even finished speaking, it was already there by Matthias. And the Gemara brings a similar inyan to praying for rain, dort in Masechta Tainis, that the sons of Reb Fia went to the Omud, and before they'd even started really finishing the Mashiach Baruch, I guess we already went Gesher. And the Gemara brings another case of Rav Yehuda, when he was sort of later, he was from Amorayim, that's brought in reference to Rav Yehuda, he had to take off his shoe. He took off his shoe, and as he took off when he'd taken off his shoe, then the Eibusha gave rain. As they say taught in the Gemara. So we see a similar difference, that he had to make an action, where either the B'nai Reb Chia, they said, and even before they'd finished saying, Mashiach Baruch, I shall show you in Gesher. Came to you, oh no, it's a little sign, for Pearl Mama. You're not letting on for Gesher. And if we see Lefi there, that there's madreigas in the Indian of answering a prayer. So therefore it comes out of there that Yitzchak Avinu, he was already poil in the world. For somebody that represented his genius and his ability to stand up a whole household. in Bekerev, the Jewish people. Well, that was the union of Eliezer's shlichus, and that brought about Azar Madrege in prayer. There was even Terem Chilo Ledaber. So from that we see that if we hold mamish with the union of Ad Masai, and we hold mamish with the union of an Ad Mahero, Yorutz Devore, that everything that Rebbe said has got to happen swiftly. And we've got no time, and anybody who follows what is happening in the news, I don't recommend you do, but if it does happen that you happen to hear what's happening in the news, then you know that there's no time. That it's becoming terribly, terribly urgent that the matzav here in Eretz HaKodesh and so on, bli likonis l'kol ha'ptim, ha'meval in b'yeser, and there's no time. It's an inyan of urgency, and therefore we have to base ourselves on the inyan of the Rebbe. But the inyan of the Rebbe is that inyan of Ki'ato Avinu al Yitzchak Avinu, the inyan from Mehirus, the inyan from Tikboirus, unbelievable, powerful Sheva, which just conquers the whole world and the whole Messiahs, and that causes that things happen, had occurred even before time, as it were. They happen even before their real moment. We see that happens, that it's brought down in the Zohar Kodesh that Rivka, when you think about it, she's the most amazing dogma of something which is mamish min hakotzer ela. She lived, was brought up in a place. I mean, we see what these people are like. These were Avraham Avinu's family. Oh, we see this Pesuel. He was a he was a Russia Misug. For the highest order. He tried to poison Eliezer, but they couldn't do it. He was really not a very pleasant person. And Lavan was even worse. Lavan, he becomes in reference to Yaakov Avinu, he becomes, and we say on the night of the Seder night, we bring down the Lashon at the Mishnah in Masechta Pesachim, and we say that Arami Oived Ovi, that Lavan Harami, he wanted to destroy our forefather Yaakov, and wanted to destroy the whole Jewish people. So I mean, these guys were really bad news. And so we can imagine what the environment was that Rivka was brought up in. And after Pekain, we see that she had in herself this inyan of Milas Chasodim. And therefore, we notice that Eliezer Ever Avram doesn't say she has to be a Gevaldik and Tzaddiket, and we have to be boidik to see that she keeps all the Tariag mitzvahs with the Reis, Vizayin mitzvahs with the Rabbanan right on the spot, otherwise I won't even consider it. We see that the Ikka is this Indian of Gevilas of helping others, and immediately he saw that, and he knew that was the Nakuda, and that was the Indian. However, we see that it's all based on this Indian of Mahira, swift. And she, having been brought up in such a place, she made the most unbelievable swift change. Minakotza ela. She was brought up. The next thing she's going over to Yitzchak's house, and she becomes in place of Sorah Imeinu. Like Rashi brings later in the parasha, that all the nisim that happened in Sorah Imeinu's tent happened to Yitzchak once he came in. Happened to Rivka Imeinu once she came into the tent. All the nisim began to happen. The Rebbe brings it down, but again to the end of the Hadrofas Hanea, Meir of Shabbos, Adar of Shabbos, with the whole reason. Rashi brings it down there in the parasha. Just a few Rashis further on. Remember, we see that Rivka made this unbelievable change, from one extremity to the other in a very amazingly short time. And that's what the Zohar Kodesh says, that she went out, Rivka Yoitzeitz. It should be written that Rivka came into the picture. What should be written Rivka Bar, like it's written later by Rachel, or Rachel Bar. And here it's written Rivka Yoitzeitz. So the Zohar Kodesh says that Rivka went out of all the Inyanim, and in an amazingly short time she left behind the whole past, and she also became a Merkava for the Inyan HaKedusha, for the Inyan for Kili Elokuz. And she was also from the Imois of the whole Jewish people. And we see from that everything here happens with tremendous ishapcho, with switching michashegelin linhoyramam. And so therefore the Alter Rebbe brings down in the Siddur, and he's got a famous mimer in the Siddur, the Shah Nafilus Apayim, and he says that this pasuk when Eliezer paused when he saw, it's written that he had a good, he paused, what she said to him, here you take to drink and I'll give you camels also, and it's written that he went quiet and he waited a minute to see what is really going to happen. So the Alter Rebbe brings in the Siddur that's like after Shemoneh Esrei you fall in the field a payim, a whole big arichas. However, the Alter Rebbe says that why was it over here that Eliezer and Avram, he kept bowing down? It's written twice. He bowed down after this happened, and when he told the story, again, and Rivka said she's going to come, he also bowed down. But what's he doing bowing down? What was it, the whole arichas? So the Alter Rebbe said that there was a tremendous amount of Gilui Elokus in this whole thing which happened. And therefore, it's told over twice. The whole thing gets repeated all over again. We already know what happened. What's happened in Nachavali? So the Alter Rebbe says that that's a sign that there was a tremendous ongoing Gilui of divinity the whole time in this whole Sipur, in this whole Maisa, and that even Eliezer and Avram was out of field the whole time, that there was unbelievable Gilui was with him, this unbelievable Gilui Elokus was functioning every second and every minute of this whole parsha. And the father, the Rabbeinu B'Chayei, he says, "V'hinei hu terem kilo l'daber." He says that hu is indicative of very high madrega, and our Rebbe's call it atzmas ein seif. Mamish, the Eivshah is beyond and over and beyond the whole even ishtalsel. I'd appreciate if you put that away and you set up. Okay, one of the things about a human is that he's able to support himself without leaning on his legs or his arms. Okay, it follows that the whole Inyan was Gilui Elokus Kipshuta, Mami. And it happened so much that Eliezer and Avram was aware that there was something, like the Etzem Elokus was with him in every second and every small detail that occurred. From that it follows that we can see that if you go in the right way, and you give yourself over, B'emet, to the shlichus of Avram Avinu and the shlichus of the Eibishter, then you can bring tremendous Gilui Elokus into the world, and particularly when you're going with the Hayroah and the Pnimis of Yitzchak Avinu, and when you're going towards the Inyan of Gilui Elokus, which is Liosid Love. It's Shayach, and it is the whole Inyan of Gilui, Moshiach and Gilui, Atzmas ein seif lamata, v'ayihu terem kilo l'daber, and that stated in the Rabbeinu B'Chayei. And we have to say that that's the reason why Eliezer made this whole amazing sign. Although we said earlier, it's not really understandable. Why did he have to do it? And he got himself into all sorts of shilas, why did he have to make this amazing sign? Rivka would dafki pia geimeres chsodim. So the Indian is that if we look at the whole history of mankind, and the Rambam writes it in Hilchos Chayei Sorah at the beginning, if we look at the whole history of mankind, and we look at what happened to the world on the day of Avram Avinu, and particularly on the day Yitzchak v'Yankiv, then we see that a most amazing and tremendously dramatic change occurred in the whole of mankind with the coming of the forefathers into the world. Up until the time of Avram Avinu, there were tzaddikim. One can't say they weren't. However, they weren't mashpia on their whole generation. As one I'm going to get to Noach, that he was already a later tzaddik. And nonetheless, Noach waited for people to ask him. If people asked him, what are you doing building that teva? What are you making all this tremendous years and years of effort to build this huge ship that you're building? By the way, the Mittler Rebbe says it wasn't a ship. It's written in Teres Chaim from the Mittler Rebbe. The ark wasn't a ship, it was square. So it wasn't a ship, and it just sat on the water. It didn't have a Didn't have a steering wheel, and it didn't have a captain. There was nobody up on the deck, guiding it. It just was there. So the Mittler Rebbe says, "From who is?" He said, "Because the inside the ark was already the time of Moshiach. Oh, the inside the ark was already the time of Moshiach. Lo yoreu v'lo yashchisu b'kol ha'kodeshi." All the animals and the whole universe lived together in absolute unity. And a whole big beer in the Teres Chaim from the Mittler Rebbe.
Nachko is his leg bitten by the lion.
That's another man. He got bitten by the lion because he played around with him. He didn't bring him his food. Anyway, all he did was he gave Noach a reminder. He didn't devour him. Normally, if you get a lion angry, he doesn't just bite your finger. Edify. Cham?
Yeah, this is the master of Cham.
That was after.
Oh,
That was after the Teva. Upon him, the Mittler Rebbe writes that the Indian the Teva was mamish the Olam HaMashiach, Kipshuta. So the same thing, the world of the tzaddikim up to the flood, and even after, they were tremendous people, but they were like had it good for themselves. They kept away, and on the contrary, it's written by what was his name, Chanoich. It's written that he was, he went with the Eibusha, but the Eibusha took him away, because the Eibusha was a little, anxious that something, maybe not so good might happen, and he took him away before it should happen. As is Rashi. So everybody said, how come Rashi was so uncomplimentary to Chanoich? Whatever it should be, that Azay Edazach. And Mela, the beauty of that is that there's such a where a person is involved in Avodas Hashem, add to very high madrigas in the etzem devekis in Avodas Hashem, but Iki Inyana is what they call fazir. Izika Inyan is he's involved in great things, but he doesn't have the power or the patience, or even the what you might call the Kvetchenzach, and the bringing himself to Mesilas Nefesh to go around trying to help other people to benefit from his knowledge, and to try and make that the world should be a kli that everybody should know about Elokus. If he doesn't have the power for that, that doesn't necessarily mean that he's not a tzaddik, or he's not a Ravin. What happened with and so therefore there were lots of tzaddikim, but at the same time there was a flood, and there was after that Rachmanin planted there a flogger. But the whole Indian that these great tzaddikim were not able to, even to a certain extent, even out of Arishan. He had the terrible Indian of Chayei Sorah. He didn't manage to have this complete effect like he was on the whole tour. At the whole Indian ad Avraham Avinu was like another world. It was like we say Hashomayim Shomayim LaHashem Va'oretz Nosen Levnei. It's two inyonim. There's the Eibishter in high inyonim and Ruchnis, and then there's the Oretz. Lav Dafke that they joined together. What was Matan Torah? The Rebbe always explains to us that Matan Torah was we united Elokus and the Olam HaGashmi together. The Elokus became spread out, and he became mechuyev from Matan Torah onwards. In Ha'inim from Vo'ahavta L'Reacha Kamocha Mamish. It's a chiyuv. Whatever you got, the Tzveita also has to have it. And you have to benefit other people with what you've been blessed. And Colossians, Melech HaMashiach, but he said, if you know Aleph, then you have to teach the Tzveita person on Aleph. I could be don't know any more, or you know Aleph, you have to teach him Aleph. If you know Aleph Beis, you're a good, so you have to teach him Aleph Beis. In other words, you have to be mishtadel to go out of yourself and shuffle yourself out of your own inyonim and give to other people. Now that began be'ikeh with Avraham Avinu. This is the whole ikeh hashpoah in the world of Avraham Avinu. Therefore, we see in last week's parsha that he planted a eishel, a tent, according to one opinion. It was open from four sides, And all these people used to flock in. Now, a person with the type of knowledge and the type of studying ability that Avraham Avinu was gifted with, you don't like being messed around by people. You like to sort of be in your ruknistik in yonim. You like to be hadikot, locked away, and be able to learn and do all your inyonim. And Avraham Avinu gave himself away in the most unbelievable fashion to everybody who came in. And he was ready, and he went around from place to place. And the Rambam says that he spoke with tens of thousands of people, even though people only moved around in small groups. In those days, without any microphones, without any emails, without any faxes, without all the rest of the paraphernalia which exists today. It all depends what is the ikar of the creation. That Avraham Avinu began in the world, it started a whole new seder, that the world is going to become a living dogma of what the Eibusha wants. Everybody's going to be part of it. And if you know Aleph, you've got to teach the Zweite Aleph. That's Avraham Avinu. And he went around and he took on himself unbelievable tirches. And the same with the Baal Shem Tov, the Spießen that Avraham Avinu and the Baal Shem Tov come together. Because the Baal Shem Tov did exactly the same. He traveled around all over the place. He never had any rest in one place. He was always going Makim to reach more Yidden and to teach them and to bring them, etc., etc. But this is the change which occurred in the fire. According to Kabbalah, the Yichud Elium, which is in Matan Torah, began with Avraham Avinu. Even though Matan Torah was generations later, but the whole kesher of the Eibusha with the world that came about through Matan Torah began with Avraham Avinu. These are the Rizal, steht in the Lekutei Torah me'al Rizal. Avraham Avinu began the whole Seder which led to the union of the giving of Matan Torah and the effect on the world. And the first state in the Sefer from the Bedichur, the Rabbi Yitzhak Bedichur, in the Sefer, the Kedushas Levi, he said that everybody who makes an effort and everybody who has a genuine desire to work hard on inyanim of Torah mitzvahs in life, he can affect the whole world according to his particular inyan with the Eibusha blessed him. In other words, if he's got a certain kishorin, a certain ability with the Eibusha blessed him, if he works really hard at it, he can spread it around, and he can make even the whole his generation benefit from that. We're left out that he's talking about our neshama klalis, or each one in his own area can have an effect. And nowadays the Rebbe is not even in your own area. You've got to be able and willing to go beyond your own area. You have to go all over. And the same, he said, Allah has come to become a tzaddik, emes, whatever is his particular inyan, that affects the whole other world. So he said, what did Avraham Avinu do? Avraham Avinu affected the whole world, that the whole inyan is chesed, the whole inyan of the world is that everybody has to be together with the other person, and the whole perfection, the whole hope of mankind is actus, actus and care and Mesiras Nefesh of one individual for the other. And he says that Avraham Avinu brought that into the world, mamish kipshutei. And Yitzchak Avinu also carried that on in a much higher way, even though we don't hear of Yitzchak Avinu running around in those inyonim so much, but we hear about the Be'eros. He dug these wells. Chassidus says that was the inyan for wells of Pnimis HaTorah, Yofotzu Mayin HaSelcha. That Yitzchak Avinu took it even more pneumistic, and he brought down the inyan from Pnimis HaTorah, Pnimis HaInyanim Begola in the world, and that's the Hachana to Mashiach. And therefore he stuck at the inyan for Mashiach. And that's why it is that Eliezer, when he went out, he had to put himself into a lavush of a siman. What's Rivka Imenu? What's she going to have to add up to? If she hasn't got into this whole influence that Avraham Avinu has brought into the world, then she can't, it's a sign that she doesn't fit into Kedusha. Because Avraham Avinu brought about in the world that there's this inyan that every human being, the shaykh in any way, has to feel that he's got to help other people. It's got to be in the air. It's like a whole new enthusiasm that's in the human race. And if you don't feel it, then it's a sign you're not in the ball game. And if Eliezer had to make that simon. It was a in hechreichi that he had to make. As our simon, the Rivka, she's going to have a shaykhas to Yitzchak Avinu. Then she has to have the Amshacha into the world of Avraham Avinu, and then she can go from Avraham Avinu into the Maila Nifla of Yitzchak. And the father, the Rebbe the Tzemach Tzedek brings down in the Maimah that the Inen of her carrying the jug on her shoulder, at the Inen from Shechem, the shoulder is indicative of the Beis HaMikdash. Now, how does he get to that? Because we had in Pasha Chayei Sorah, the Beis HaMikdash wasn't mamish up on the top of the mountain, but it was like a little bit down. Where was it? It was literally on the shoulders of the ox. On the shoulders of the ox. As they bring to Rashi over there in Chayei Sorah. Now, I mean, the shoulder is indicative of the Beis HaMikdash. That you got to be a rebbe to pick one like that up. So here she was carrying this jug, which represents Torah on her shoulder. So that's all part of the unbelievable meaning that she shayked to Ato Avinu, to Yitzchak, what he's the Gilif and Moshiach. Therefore he shot to the from the Beis HaMikdash, and therefore it's Ad Maheiro. It runs very, very swiftly and very quickly. And that's what the Rebbe taught us, that we're going to be like Choynei HaMa'agil, the Cholopochets. Why do I mean the Cholopochets? I mean Choynei HaMa'agil, who's greater than Choynei HaMa'agil. But he at least made a little effort. He wasn't mamish as if he in the middle. He made a little effort. But the Rebbe said that Choynei HaMa'agil's got an amazing milah. Shimon Bar Shatat said about him that he's like a son that he had to go, he's naughty with his father, and he gets what he wants. So the Rebbe said that what we're going to do is we're going to be with the Eivisha a little bit like Choynei HaMa'agil, as is it in a place. That the Rebbe said we're going to say, listen here, Eivisha, we want mezumana. We want cash money, none of these stars and none of these checks with the balance and all these mises. We want cash. We want mezumana, and therefore allowed to say to the Eibishter, even to be a little bit kamura. We're allowed to be. We're allowed to say, listen here, enough of all this. All the scholars and enough of all these inyanim, and we want Moshiach now. It has to be in an pashtas, just like a ben who's mishchatei. He plays naughty with his father. They say in the Gemara, and the Rebbe says, and the Rebbe brings in Dov Mitzvah Sachar, the Rebbe the Tzemach says in Shorish Mitzvah Tefillah, he brings down over there. There's one of the great Baalei Teisvas that he writes that he knew all the Kabbalah. But nonetheless, when he davens, he sort of puts all the Kabbalah aside, and he davens like a ben amishchater. He's like a ben koton. Lifnei. I think bring the Tzemach Tzedek dot, and with all the unbelievable cheshbonos over there in Shorish Mitzvah Tefillah, he said that when it comes to mamish lepoel, that's how you should daven. That's our Indian now. So we say to the Eibishter, and all the inyanim of being, and all the birurim, and all the inyanim, it's all being, it's all completed, and it's all ready, everything is ready. And you mustn't take what they write in the papers and all this. I've come to the conclusion, after having met people in the world, that what they write in the papers is another planet. All these Mishgoyim, the so-called journalists and all the rest of it, they live in this world that it's a crooked and improper world, and they live in it and they try to make the world look that way. Well, the truth of the matter is that I'm in doubt as to whether the world is like that at all. And I'll give you a dugma. You'll be surprised to hear that one day I went to a place called Skipton. You know where Skipton is? It's a little old country town in Yorkshire, in England, and mamish way out of the middle of nowhere. Well, it's not. It's quite actually a big town. It's got a big castle and all sorts of ices. So we come into this and we're walking around. All of a sudden I said to him, you see that shop over there? I said, I'd like to go into the shop. Now I don't know exactly why I picked that shop. but it had something in it that I would like to look at, something I'd like to see. So it was sort of around a sort of a little lane. Mummy's out of nowhere. So he said, okay, we'll go in there. So we go in, and we're standing in the shop, and I'm looking at what I wanted to look at. All of a sudden, the lady who runs the shop, she comes up, and she says, are you a Jewish rabbi? So I said, yes, I am. Yeah, so that was interesting. So she said, look, I busy myself with meditation. She said, I do a lot of meditating. And she said, I read a lot. And I've come to the conclusion that the truth is with the Jewish people. I'm telling you exactly what she said. So I tried to find out from her, who's her mother and father. It seems that she wasn't Jewish. She was Mamish, the way I understood it, she wasn't Jewish. But she said she's come to the conclusion that the truth is with the Jewish people. And that she wants to find out about the Jewish way and the Jewish understanding. And she wants to, she wants to make the world a better place. And she wants to make the world spiritual. It's got to be spiritual. I couldn't believe it. I thought, Mamish, that something had fallen from the ceiling and hit me, and I got a bit funny. In the middle of nowhere. I mean, he knows where. It's way out in these mountain areas out there in the north of England. And it's a little old sort of, well, it's all that little, but it's an elderly town, and it's very sort of picturesque. And he always walk around this, and I said, I want to go into that shop. Something took me into that shop. And all of a sudden, so we had a whole thing, and Rabbi Pink sent her a whole thing in the mail. He sent him whole things about Jewish meditation and about the 7 mitzvahs for So it's amazing what you meet up with in the middle of nowhere. And this is what's happening with people. People are gradually coming. How does that happen? How is it that all of a sudden you meet people like this and they say meaningful things to you, out of nowhere? I met also in, in Harrogate, I met a guy on the street, and he also asked me, do you look sort of a rabbi, Jewish or something, what's your view about this or about that? Oh, I'd stop you on the street. I didn't ask if he was Jewish or not. I didn't like to, standing on the street. Oh, but who knows? And so what's happening is that the Rebbe's put these oisias, when the Rebbe speaks, then that's holy oisias, from Melech HaMashiach. So the Rebbe's letters have gone all around the world. They've gone out into the world and they've affected, and they've gone. The Arizal says that why did he understand the words of the birds? He can understand what the bird. So the Arizal said that when they burnt the Sifrei Torah, Rachmanin Klan and the Chub Nabayis, all the oisias from all those Sifrei Torah went out into the air. And he said, what happens is that the birds have got a certain flea in them that they pick up these oisias and they throw them into the air. So therefore he said, and they mean to pass it on, that it should pass to another part of the world, because the Eibusha wants those oisias of that Sefer Torah to be in that part of the world. I just think the Kisvei Orita. So that means that oisias float around in the oisias float around in the world. I mean, it's written when Moshe Rabbeinu broke the luchos that the oisias went up into the air. And the Rebbe has put these oisias all over the world. So don't believe the newspapers. Don't believe them. Don't believe the politicians, because politicians are shakranim. You mustn't believe them. And don't believe prime ministers. Don't believe anybody. Believe only the oisias of the Melech HaMashiach. But the oisias of Melech HaMashiach, and they're having their effect. They're going all around the world. And that's exactly what happened with Avraham Avinu. He spread this unbelievable message that drifted all around the world, and people started to realize that they got to be together with other people, even to the point of Mesilas Nefesh, and helping other people, and going out of your way to be kind and understanding to another person. So that's what it is. He said that's got to come out, and it's got to become public, that I'm taking a wife for Yitzchak Avinu, but he's now the new, we want Moshiach Now movement. His wife has got to be like Avraham Avinu Pepel Mami. And therefore he had to make that public. The father is up in the form of a simon, even to the point that they let himself in, like we saw, into a little diktuk in Halacha. Arichas Ha'inyan. We have to realize that the Rebbe is Chai B'Kayo. The Rebbe's words and the Rebbe's inyonim are everywhere, and they're going around and affecting the whole, they're affecting the whole world. And it's only a question of counted minutes. And taking from Yad, we'll all be together with the Rebbe in Yerushalayim, here Kodesh, in the Beis Hamikdash.
Yeah.